Hello everyone. I'm Shankhanil from Team DotSlash, and I would like to welcome you all to this fifth session of our series of workshops. Today we have with us Mr. Vivek Sridhar, who is a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft, and he will be delivering a hands-on session on Azure Hackbook for hackathons. Those of you who are not aware of Azure, it's a cloud computing platform by Microsoft, and it is used for various services by developers all across the globe, like data analytics then storage, networking, and various other services Microsoft Azure provides. So definitely, today's session will be a great informative session for you all, and I hope that you will have a lot of to take away from this session. Without wasting much time, we can start with the session. So, sir, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen first, and then we will go one by one. So, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Perfect. So, thanks for the invite, and I'm super excited to drive this session today. And so, from today's session, it's more about Azure Hackbook. Uh, whenever I get invited to do the mentoring sessions for at hackathons, right? So I get to ask, with different services, how to use different Azure services, or how to get started with Azure, where I can find resources, where I can find quick answers, which is the service which I need to use in a hackathon. Basically, it's not something which at hackathon you're looking at building a product or something and going into the market and you're actually selling it, and you have users and other things. But in hackathon you're trying to build a prototype. So what is the best way to build those prototypes? What are those services which you need to use to build those prototypes? So that is something which I get asked every time I go into different sessions. So the today's session I will focus on specifically on these specific areas where you will find help in terms of building applications. We'll go through that and as a part of agenda as well. Before that, I just want to introduce myself. These are my coordinates. These are my digital coordinates. You can land up anywhere and connect with me. And just a background to me is I started my career way back in 2006, 15 years back, as a software developer at IBM. As basically working on Java, Python, Perl, and other stuff. And then I was in software development for 9 years, building products there, and then moved into a solution architect role, specifically in a DevOps role, because I found a lot of passion around DevOps. So I moved into a DevOps engagement, and I was part of enterprise DevOps solutioning building activities at HCL. Built a complete end-to-end solution there. Came back. I was in Australia when I was doing that. I came back to India, and um, I joined the startup called Blackbug. Today you would have heard about it as a unicorn, but way back it was just a 6 months old baby, and I was part of that journey, and built a complete DevOps solution for them while I was heading the DevOps for them at the Blackbug. And then I co-founded a company, and then moved into DigitalOcean as a developer advocate. And at Microsoft, this is my second role at Microsoft, by the way. So the previous role was from a strategy and investment perspective, and this role specifically into the cloud and AI engineering team of Microsoft. That's my background. And as I told you, today agenda is definitely the Hackbook, the one place stop for you for any hackathons. It's not just this hackathon, but if you're going into any hackathon and if you plan to use Azure and you want to make sure that you want to see a couple of services quickly, see a couple of code samples quickly, and understand a couple of services, why which service to pick up and run. That's what the Azure Hackbook will have. Unfortunately, I thought this session is tomorrow, and I have just built a half-baked hackbook though, but it is all there, and make sure that it is completed by tonight so that you can start using it from tomorrow. But I'll anyway share the link for you. But today's session, what we will do is we will focus on deploying containers. Why I'm picking containers is because that is something which will be used in any of the hackathons. So you're not going to just go there and just go there and run code and other things, but also you will try to make it easy to run code and easy to deploy it. And I'll show you some couple of tips and tricks you need to follow in hackathon while you building it, so that once you've built it, how you can keep deploying it back and forth to test it. That's the most important thing about it, right? So I'm going to deploy containers in various services which we have, and I'm going to show you cognitive service, how you can use cognitive service. So this is, there are a couple of things about it. Cognitive service is more of pre-built AI models, right? There are models already available. There is, I don't, as a developer, I don't need to use these services. I don't need to know data science and other things. I just need to use these services and start building my applications and start using my applications. So there, it provides a lot of tool sets. So I'm going to show you one of the examples, which is from the speech service, but it is not necessarily complete cognitive services. There are a couple of cognitive, but I'll run through a couple of services as well, and there will be a couple of things which we will discuss, but I'll not be demoing it, but it's more of like discussions and understanding why it is required, and that will be updated on the hackbook site, right? So and not waste time. This is the link to the hackbook. So this is the QR code. This is the link. If you want to go and watch it, and because this is not going to be a one-stop place, it's one-time, uh, one-time activity, right? So this is going to be always on. It's going to, it's going to keep continuing, and things will always happen. So we'll not stop at that, right? So we'll keep updating that, and you can also update it if you feel there is some good resources which we need to update in the specific section or a new section you want to add. Feel free to contribute to the hackbook, right? So just take a look at that. um, let's Enough of slides, enough of all this stuff. Let's go and do a couple of demos, right? So let me go back here. And so what I've done is I have um, divided this section into a couple of things. One, let's try and understand how Azure is set up. So if you're new to Azure, Azure is a cloud. It's a public cloud, and there are three different types, right? Models. One is private cloud. One is public cloud. One is hybrid cloud. The private cloud is obviously way back when we were in IBM. We were using internal cloud with VMware, ESX servers. We had our own cloud. We had our own cloud with machines in the in server rooms, and then we were able to access it within the cloud, within the premises, and all those stuff. So that is very much with respect to the organization. But when it is coming to the public cloud, it is basically through an internet. I'm able to access these set of services, compute, in fact. So basically, compute is what? Nothing but when you buy a laptop, what do? You see CPU, you see memory, you see all those other things which is required. So that is something which is provided over the internet. So that is what public cloud is all about. And then there is hybrid, where there is a combination of both. There could be a you could have a private cloud. You can also have a public cloud, together talking to each other through VPNs, to other services, tunneling, and various other concepts, networking concepts, which you can think of. So this is a basic about cloud, right? So there is different models as well, right? There is different other models like infrastructure as a service, service models, in fact. So these are PaaS layers, and then serverless and other things which has come up. So all these other things which is out there, you're picking of, as part of the hackathon, right? When you're going into a hackathon, what you will do is, specifically, you pick up those set of services which is easier to deploy, which is faster to deploy, and which is, you can easily maintain it. So that is the main goal of using these kind of services. This is where the PaaS plays a very important role, and the serverless plays a very important role. And from the understanding of Azure itself, how Azure access management is designed. So this is a very good documentation of how Azure access management is designed. Don't worry, all these links, all these important starting links are part of my hackbook. It's already there. A couple of them I've already added. There are a couple of services which I haven't added, which I will add by tonight. But apart from that, everything is added here. So don't worry about that. So Azure Resource, it's basically a resource you know is a basic unit. So basically, whenever you spin up something in Azure, it's called a resource. Okay, and resource is obviously grouped into Azure resource groups. And what is Azure resource group? It's a logical grouping of resources. So whenever you are spinning up a VM, whenever you're spinning up something, there is a resource group attached to it. So you're grouping all those resources. It's a very simple way to understand is, I want to group different in your college context, right? Different classes into different people, right? So basically, there could be two sections of computer science department, two class A and class B, right? So you can have two different classes and grouped into two different class teachers and other stuff. So very simple way to understand this. And Azure subscription is also logical grouping. So basically, it's also a subscription, and you're actually grouping it into Azure Resource Group and Azure Resources. So once your subscription is there, once you have a subscription, you're just logically grouping it into resource group and the resources. And once you use this, there is different way to use it. There is Azure Resource Manager, which is having a REST API endpoint. So whatever you do, there are three ways to connect to Azure. That is the Azure CLI, there is Azure um, portal, and there's PowerShell. There are, these are the three ways to connect, and we are going to consume the REST APIs for that. And how are you going to do it? So simple. So there is PowerShell, portal, CLI, and you just run a REST API endpoint. Just connect to it, and then execute the command to spin up a resource. So this is how it is. So if you're spinning up a Azure resource provider, which is no direct connect, Azure Resource Manager is just a REST API, and there is a provider for that. There is, for each of the services there are providers, and when there is a REST API endpoint is called, it connects to this, and then there is a resources spinned up. So this is how the spinning of a resource happen, and this is how the path to spin up a new resource is that. So nothing to worry. This is a simple way to understand that whenever you're spinning up something, you just go into the resource, and there is a resource group you need to provide while you're spinning up a VM or any other resource. You just go in there and set up a resource group, give the details of the subscription, and then use different client to uh, initiate the process, and it gets initiated, and this gets deployed. Okay, so obviously there are other things like Azure Active Directories. Trust needs to be there. It needs to know who is actually spinning up, and all those things. Why I'm talking about this is that most of the time, whenever I go into a mentoring session, uh, the question is, if I spin up something, how will I get billed, and whether my bill gets, I'll be billed a large if I give my credit card. If I give this, what will happen if I give my other thing, payment methods? Will I lose money and other things? So you can control it. So you can definitely control it. There is an active directory is associated to it, and then there is a tenant associated to it, and each of these tenant is associated with Azure subscription, which is a logical grouping. And each of these, obviously, subscription has role based access. There is a resource policies and other things, but most important, resource limit, where you can control what is a limit, and also you can also control finance commitment limit, right? So basically you can control it, you can absolutely control it, and you can easily delete all these resources. As you can see, there is resource group and subscription. You can delete a resource, you can delete a resource group, and then subscription is just there, it doesn't hurt. The resource is what gets built whenever you spin up a resource, it gets built. Resource group is not built, it's a logical grouping, so it is not built. Azure subscription is a logical grouping, it is not built. So the moment you create a resource group and a resource, just delete the resource or the resource group which you have created. All the resources under the resource group will be deleted, and there is no worry about getting overbuild or something like that, right? So I just wanted to make sure that this specific thing gets answered, because most of the time I keep getting this question. So I want to make sure that this is clear. Now we have moved out of this, and we will go and deploy a container app. We'll take a sample app, we will convert it, we will build a you know we'll build that app and then deploy it. So I'm not using something which is something new, because there is already learn modules which is available with code. So whenever you are at the hackathon, so you just need to understand that you need to build it fast, and you need to understand things fast and learn fast. So it's very simple. It's only a 3 minute or 15-20 minutes deployment. You just need to go through this, understand what it does and how you build it and deploy it. Okay, so this is the learn module. It is there in my hackbook, no worries. It's already there. So but I just want to show you how to build. What we are going to do now is we have to create an Azure container registry. So why registry? It is a artifact manager. So it's basically you're building something. So to understand Docker and containers, basically it's a package management tool. So you're packaging your code, and then you have to place it at some place, so that everybody can use it within your team, or within you can use it to deploy to a different set of services. So or you can deploy to the cloud and scale it. So that's the way you can do it. So what we will do is we will see container registry. We will just create a container registry, and we will see how you can use container registry to build up Docker image, and how you can deploy it there, and then how we can update it manually, right? So let's us go back to my my portal. So this is my portal. Okay, so let me show you how to create a container registry. I've already created all the services which I'm going to demo, so that we don't waste time in creations and wait for it to work. But anyways, I'll show you how to do it, so that you can learn while seeing this. So I go to create resource, and when I go to create resource, I can go to these containers. And when I go to containers, you can create a container registry, and there are a bunch of things you can do with containers. That's just take a look at that. And then there is container registry here. So when I click on container registry, as I told you, it is all about subscription. So the resource management is always divided into like this, right? Subscription, under that there's a resource group. So I have a resource group called uh, dot slash, and then there is registry name. You can give any of this registry name and select, and different set of things you can select there, and then go into encryption, whatever mode you want. and then go and review and create. So it will just validate all the things you have selected. I've just selected all the defaults and just go and create. It will create a container registry for you. So while you create a container registry, the most important thing we need to know is, I'm just filtering out type. Let's see, container registry here. So all the resources, there is a container registry already created. So just go to this container registry. There is access key, right? So there is access key. So I've been using this access key to connect. So I've enabled it, and from admin user perspective. Anybody with this username and password, you can connect. So this is this is how you can enable it, and I'll show you how this will be used when we deploy Kubernetes, right? So when we deploy something on Kubernetes, how fast we can do it. So basically, this is this is how you can build the container registry. You have the container registry now, and what you need to do is now build the code and deploy it into the container registry, and then to the Azure App Service. So while I'll show you how App Service is set up, right? So App Service is basically, I'll just type in App Service. Um, So let me create a new app service to show you a demo. Again, so it is about subscription and resource group. So you select the resource group, dot slash, and then there is name. I just give you some dot slash demo, some name, then selecting Docker container. So if you see here, there is two types of publishing. One is the code and the one is the Docker container. We will see an example of code. I'll show you how I can deploy a Java code into the web app. And also we will see a Docker container example, right? There is two different things. Now, for example, Docker container, I'll take container and then operating system I select, and then I select a couple of things, and then next I'll go next. Here is where I'm going to select how I'm going to deploy it from Azure Container Registry. Note that I can also deploy it from Docker Hub. That means there is a Docker, it has its own registry. You can also have your own private registry and connect to this, or you can use Azure Container Registry where I already have a container registry created, and then the image already available. I'm using an image which is there like sample app, and then there is a tag which is there, which is latest, and then there is no need of startup command for this, and then I just go and create a new web app, right? So let's um not create it. It's already there. So let me show you. You can just go tag and just review and create. So it's already here, so let's not go and create, right? So this is how you can do it. So there is app service, there is container registry now, but there is code in between, right? We haven't seen the code, and the code is there, and how you can build that code and deploy it, this is how you can do it. So I have uh, let's see, let me go back, and this is a code, ms learn code, which is there. Okay, so let's open this in Visual Studio. Okay, so where is my Visual Studio? It's in the last. Okay, it's in the last. So let's open. Um, so let's open this code. So this is the code which we have, and I have bunch of extensions here. Note that there is Docker extension as well, which is connected to the Azure. So this is a simple code which is there, right? Azure Hackbook, a guide to learn and build apps. This is bad apps in hackathons um, on Azure. So I'm just changing something in the code, right? Um, so I'm just saving this up. So I've changed the code. So this code is available. Where is it available? It's very simple. As I told you, if I go and to my MS Learn, that's the important thing about MS Learn, right? That's the easiest way to get started with it. The code is here. So for you to learn something really quick, the code is already available. So just pick up the code, see what it does, and how exactly it is getting deployed. And once you see that, you just need to add your code and run it. So it's very simple, right? So let me show you now. So I have this code which is out there. Where is that? My Visual Studio. So now I just did a change to that. Now I have, let me keep this small. So I have Docker images, right? So I have a couple of images, which is there, which is a sample image which you need to pick it up. So I will have to build the code again. So ms learn, I'll go here, .NET, and then there is code I need to build, Docker images, and then I need to build a Docker image. So I did change the code. I did some changes and say Docker. By the way, since it is already deployed, I'll show you how exactly this is deployed, right? So let me show you that as well. This is the app service which we have deployed. So so this was there before. We did change a couple of things here, right? But notice this code is out, this, how to make this code auto update, right? So I have to go and in the deployment center here, if you see this, there is a deployment center. That means how you want code to be deployed, uh, you know on a regular basis, right? Or how you want code to be released. So there are different ways to do it. Container registry is there, there is GitHub action, there is Azure pipeline. So I've just used the webhook to do that. So there is, I've just told whenever there is an update happening in the container registry, just update the code. That's the kind of setting I have done. And this is the container registry details, and this is the access to it. And I have told this is the latest tag. Whenever there is a tag latest gets updated, just update. And if you see here, there is continuous deployment, and it's on, and there is a webhook URL which is out here. And how do I connect this webhook URL to my container registry? So I just need to copy this webhook URL whenever you come to deployment center, set this up, copy this and go to your container registry. And in container registry, there is something called as webhooks. If you see here, go to webhooks, create a new webhook, add a new webhook, and it gets enabled. So if you see here, I've created for sample latest, right? So if I create one new one, all I have to give is the URI, the webhook URI, which will be there at the deployment center of an app service. Just copy that here, and you create, add that webhook here, webhook name here, and whenever on push, just get the scope, right? Just add the trigger and just create it. Your webhook is available for you. So this is how it is. I've already created it. The reason why I've created it, it takes a lot of time to build, deploy it to the containers, push it to container registry, and do it all the time. So just to save time, because I have a lot of things to demo, so I've already created all these things for us to test it out. So this is how it is. So I've already created this. We have the code. So now container registry, though there is already a pre-built latest build is available, package Docker image is available. And then there is Azure App Service, which we have already deployed. There is a service which is already running through this code, and there is code which is available with me on GitHub or anywhere. I just have the code on my laptop now. I've made changes to the code. Now I need to deploy this code. So once you have this first setup, right, it's easier to test deployment in a hackathon. It's easier to do the test and see the changes and see the what is happening in your app, right? So let us go back here, go back to this Docker image, um, and see what's what's in that, right? So basically Docker build fnt sample app latest, right? Is it spelling is right? Yes. So I'm building the latest sample app from here. So we did change the code. This would have taken a lot of time if I had done it for the first time. So since it is already done, it is pretty easy to build. So now I have the build with the latest code. In a fine practice, I will also tag it with versions, but latest is what we are looking at. And if I go to my my Visual Studio, right? So which is at the end. If I go to my Docker extension, so in Docker extension, you can see my code, right? So you can see the latest was built a few seconds ago, and I'll just push this. So push it where I've already connected to my Azure Registry. So this is all a setup of my Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is set for Azure credentials. It is set with the Docker credentials. So all these things are already set for me to use. So I'm going to, anyways, publish within in the Hackbook how to set this up as well. You can take a look at that one. So anyways, if I do the push now, so it will select the registry. This was my registry, and I'll select the registry, and it is the sample app latest. It is just pushing the code there. So now I had the code, I made changes to the code, I packaged it, I'm pushing it to the Azure Container Registry. And at the container registry, what we have done is we have created a webhook to whenever there is a change which is coming in the container registry, go and tell the Azure App Service that there is a change in the latest app. Can you please deploy? So whenever there is a change in the code, the app service gets deployed. So deployment is pretty simple. You just need to, within a few clicks and few commands, if you run here, you will be able to see the deployment. So now you can see this would have, am I in the right deployment? It should deploy. On push, it takes some time to deploy. Oh, app service. Yeah. So if you see here, the Azure Hackbook, which is out there, this was, guide to learn and build, but here it's completely changed, right? So this is how you can actually deploy it. So it took some time to deploy, but it's fine. So this is how you can build an app and deploy. So it's very simple. Code is out there with you. Build it, package it, create a container, put it in the registry, take it from the registry to anywhere, right? This is one of the way. The app service is one of the way. And we will see the next one. We will see when, how you can deploy the same build which you have in a container instance, right? Just go and create it through instance. So this is another option to easily deploy your application. So Why this is easily to easy is because you're just running one or two apps and you just want to see what is happening, and it is packaged as one build package, and you just want to run it and see what's happening in your code, and see probably have to submit it for the hackathon, right? That is one of the use. But in larger use cases, it's used for different use cases for while burst scenarios with Azure Community Service, or it is used Azure Container Instance is used with the other services like other use cases, like you have data and you're playing with data, and you're basically picking the data from blob storage and pushing it somewhere, or working on something, or running cron jobs, or working with Azure functions, specifically running some load related jobs on the servers, right? You don't really need to have a virtual machine. You can use Azure Container Instance as a place. So we'll see how to create an Azure Container Instance the same way. Create a new resource, go to containers, go to container instance. um, the same build which we did, we will take dot slash as one of the resource, and we will say demo container instance, right? So we are doing that, and we will use the Azure Container Registry. We will take the same image sample app. We will take the same latest one which is out there, and then you know go there, and it's all defaults, nothing else I'm changing. um, just go just go and create, right? So now you have an app, container instance app, which needs to be initialized and it gets created. So while it is creating, I'll just, it takes some time because it has to build the app. So while it is creating, I already have a created one, but it will not have the latest code there. So we'll wait for this to complete, but I'll just show you how it will look. So if I go here, type in container instance, okay, and see this. So if you go to this container instance, right, so you will see it's been built. um, Obviously I have it on IP address. I have not given the fqdn, but it is available on the IP address. It would have built it with the this was the old code which I had pushed and published. So it is already up there, right? So this is how I did it. Let's see, it says it is done. So let's see with the latest code. It will take time to deploy the latest code because it needs to build it. Okay, let it take time. So anyways, so so this is how you do it. So basically you have um, simple, I have a code. I created a, packaged it into a image, and got this image to the registry, and I've just created through container instance, Azure Container Instance, and the app is up there already, it is running. And you can have an environment variable set on that, how many instance of that you want, and other things as well. So that is also possible. So basically you have an app which is out there or which is already running. So the use of this specific container instance is very simple, right? So it's there in the hackbook as well. If you go to the hackbook, if you see here, it's basically, you just want to run something on the cloud, and you want to run an app and you want to see. So this is the quickest way to run your app in the cloud. And you can also do this with the GitHub Actions. Create a GitHub Actions to this, or you can do this with simple way, just how I'm deploying through CLI. Just create a script and run it, and it is all done. So this is how you can build and deploy through Azure App Service and um, container instance, Azure Container Instance. But we will also see how you can do it with container apps as well. As you can see here, container apps is more about building microservices, having control, you want to see some scale, or you want to run a couple of services together and have an application gateway at the front, and make sure that you have ingress and all those kind of capabilities which you usually get it with Kubernetes, but you really don't want to use Kubernetes, but because it is through 2 to 3 services or 4 services, and you want to run it and you want to see how exactly it works. And that is the goal of this. And I have given a couple of links there for that. But how to do it, it's very simple. Just go create a resource, with um, you know containers again. Just go here and say container apps, and when you go to container apps, um, you have resource groups. Again, the same thing, we did discuss this. I'm going to use the same container, same resource group, give a name, demo, and create an environment. So I've already have a dev environment created, and there is settings I need to do. I don't want to use quick image. I want to use the same image which I had built, right? So I want to use image source, which is Azure Container Registry, or you can also use Docker Hub. And again, I'm using the same set of things, you know the same code which we built, the same thing which is there. It's, I hope this is still coming up. Yeah, this is coming up with the latest code. See if this is right now. This is on container instance. This is on app service. The same code which is there on app service. Now we are putting the same code on container apps. So you can have different ways, various ways to deploy it. But if it is on different ways to deploy it, right? So obviously I did something. I did not give a name it before you do it, and then go and review. um, it will just review and you just create it. So I have done the same thing. I've just gone out there and created a container apps. So it is getting submitted and getting deployed while it do that. Let's go and see what we have done already, right? The container apps, which is already there. So it's called Kong app. Here is the link for that. This is already built. So go to resource. I've disabled it. So here is the code. It did take the latest one, by the way. If you see here, the one which I had built previously, this has taken the latest one, latest code. So that is how revision happens. So that is why revision management is. So continuous deployment also you can enable, and then ingress as well. So the ingress you can disable it. It can be enabled. You know, Basically accessing the services, right? Just enable it for public, and enable with a port 80, and then run it. You will be able to demo this one as well. So now we had the same code was deployed on 3 different ways on the app service for containers, Azure container apps, container instance. I can also deploy code to Kubernetes, but Kubernetes is more of deploying into a more sophisticated ones, like the the microservices and other things. I'll show you an example and how fast you can do it with the code which I have, and use the same code and you just deploy it. It's pretty easy to do it, and pretty easy to change the code and start using it for your own benefits. So that's something which you can do. And I had promised to show you how you can deploy an app service without doing a container app. So sometimes you have some people are not comfortable of using containers and they want to deploy it directly. So this is the steps to do it. I do have that code. It's there on GitHub as well. But here also I have deployed it for because it does a Maven build. It's Java, right? It takes time. So, if I go and clone this and see the code, let's see the code first. It's a simple Spring Boot app, right? It's a bare minimum Spring Boot app, which is used for uh, building. Open. I'm just opening the new one. So it's the Spring Boot app which is out there. So there is a hello controller, application code, and then hello controller. Okay, later. Okay, so I have this code. This code does nothing. It's basically it's a API. Spring Boot is framework is used to build microservice apps and other things, and this is one of the easiest way to build it. And it's just basically slash. I'm getting this greetings from Spring Boot, right? So all I need to do is change this. So greetings from Vivek Sridhar. Simple. And this is a code change. I've already done the build and deploy, right? So there is already a Maven build is already set, and POM file is already set up. So if you are from a Java world, if you understand Java, these are a couple of things settings which is already there. But if you see here, uh, there is plugin for Azure Web App plugin, which is already there, and couple of things which I have done is, if you see here, these are all set while I run the plugin, right? Plugin program, right? So a couple of things which is already set through plugins. So let me show you the Maven plugin command. Da, 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 da. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here. So this is the plugin command. So I don't want to. Let me go back. You can't run it from here, obviously. So you need to go into the code which is there, and then go into the complete. And here in complete, there is already POM file set. There is Maven build already done. Target is already there. Everything is set. So all I need to do is to run the config again if I want to config anything. While the first time, if I run the config, it will set my subscription. It will set my the resource group. It will set my region. It will do a lot of other things. But while you're running it again, it will make sure that since you're running the config again, it will just ask me if I will need to change any of the configs which you want to make sure you want to change. So this is like the application runtime, or you want to change the deployment slot itself. I'll say I just want to change the application because I made some changes to the code. And do you want to have the same name? Yes. Define resource group? Yes, I want to use the same. I want to use the same region. I want to use the same pricing model which I had created. And this is what I had set while when I ran it for the first time. The same set of steps was set, and yes, I'm happy to go, and I say yes, and this configuration is set, and my application is built again. So you need to build in Java. You need to build in Java before you deploy. If you just go there and just deploy, it won't go, right? So make sure that you do it. I've already set everything. I've already set my access to my Azure portal, Azure service. I've given the set of details where it will get updated as well. So let me go to my this one and just deploy it. So we will copy this code, and this is we will skip the test. it's better to skip the test. Otherwise, it will keep testing the app before it is deploying. So I have said, the code has some test. So in Java, in Maven packaging and building, you can create some unit tests that has been already pre-built. So it does some test and says your app is failing because you changed something, because it is looking for an output of that specific API. So the API output will definitely change because we changed the code. It will definitely fail. So we'll just run it without the test. So that's what we are doing. So I'm just skipping the test. So if you see, it is checking for the subscription, does all the things. So this is not uh, a container, right? This is just a plain code which you have. It's a Spring Boot application. You're picking that application. You're doing the default changes to it. And similarly for Python, you can do different things. For .NET, there is a different app, right? So you can definitely go through all of these things before we run into issues, right? So let it run. It takes some time for the code to come in. So while it does, I'll show you what is there on the portal as of now. So from an app service, there is different types of app service. Two app services I have. um, this was one, the previous one which I had built. So it does have a link to it. So just click on that. It it's the same code which I was showing you, right? The welcome to Spring Boot or something, it was there. So it would show you the same thing. Oh, it already deployed. So it deployed the code and it said greetings from Vivek Sridhar, right? So it has already deployed. So it has completed the deployment. So the previous code was gone and this code has come back. So that's how you can build and deploy to app service. So now you keep changing the code, keep pushing the code, and the code is there in the app service. You can keep checking, and you can see what is happening there and other things, right? So, and also you can submit the same thing in hackathons and various hackathons. You can take screenshots of these if you're submitting something. So the fastness of building and deploying on a pass, and instead of VMs and other things which you do. And this is basically you're not converting it into a Docker as well, not an image container image as well. There the other ones which had images and we are deploying it, right? So that's the interesting part of using all of these services. And we will see now, we'll take one step ahead. And now we will see, you have bunch of services to deploy. Say basically you are in a big hackathon and you are building, say it's a 1 month hackathon, people are building. There's a good hackathon which is happening for Microsoft as well, with Bangalore International Airport. Build an app to improve the experience of the traveler. So right, it's kind of lot of things you need to build out there. It's not a 36 hours hackathon, or 48 hours hackathon. It's basically a month long hackathon which is happening. You submit idea, you get selected, now you are building it and you need to submit the prototype. So it's a kind of a big hackathon you're doing, and you're building the prototype itself. And you want to use uh, some kind of service where it's easier to build, deploy, connect, and see the result as well. That's where I've used communities. That's where, with two cluster communities is also fine. I've deployed two cluster communities as well. So it's fine for hackathons, but using it's easier, faster. You have containers, build with containers, so that you can manage the even the version control it. But I'll show you how fast you can do it. Okay, so this is my to do app. It has four services. It is also a microservice, by the way. It has a microservice component to it. So I have this app, to do app, and I need to deploy it. And it's a very simple. I don't want to go in depth with Kubernetes, what is it, and other things and stuff like that. I will definitely update that in the Hackbook. But if you go back to Hackbook, you'll find all this stuff. I'll update there. But uh, this is how the Kubernetes YAML file would look, right? So it is having a couple of things, and the code is here. My code is here. My image is here. and all the things, images, I have provided the details of the images and other things. So you can see the code here. The most important thing is the way I deploy this, right? The way I deploy this is through GitHub Actions, not directly onto the Kubernetes, because I want to make sure the first time when I deploy it through GitHub Actions, and each time I deploy from now on, it's easier for me to have it on Kubernetes, not really rebuild Kubernetes itself, redo stuff on Kubernetes and other things, right? So I will use the GitHub Actions to build this, right? So push the code. So here is the code for GitHub Actions. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. If you go to this, workflow, there is a deploy, and I have GitHub Actions set. Bunch of values you need to give. This is on workflow dispatch. That means if I dispatch it, then only run the GitHub action. This is purposefully set, but in a real world scenario, it is set on basically if you have on push, right? That's how you run it. So there is workflow dispatcher. There is a couple of variables I need to change. This is the registry name, cluster name, and what is my resource group name, what is my app namespace, which is a concept of Kubernetes, and then secrets, which is also a concept of Kubernetes. You can go through the hackbook, which will have detailed out what are these things as well. So these are the couple of things, right? So Ubuntu server, I mean, Ubuntu is what you are picking from the runner perspective, and you're logging into Docker. So you notice here there is environment variables, there is secret variables. The environment variables are these, which is already here set, and this is the registry name, which is secrets, which is out there, the registry username and registry password. If you remember, I did mention about that when I was talking about um, the container registries, right? So when I was talking about container registry, where's the container registry? Okay, this is my container registry. I did talk about access keys. When I talked about access keys, I did tell you I did enable the admin. So this is the username and this is the password which we have. So this is, just copy this and use it, right? So that is what I have used here. But you see that it is not here, right? The username is not here, the password is not here. So all I need to do is to go into the settings here, and hopefully it opens the settings, and then go to the secrets in the settings, and here is where I create. So I create a new repository secret where you cannot see it. You can just update it or remove it. So here there is bunch of secrets which I've created. So these, don't worry about these things, but only the username and password and Azure credentials. Azure credentials you can just generate on your subscription and your resource group, and you can give a role to it. Once you give the role, you just get access to it. So it's a simple command. So basically, what is the command? I just don't remember the command though. Let me show you history. I have it. Where is the command? Where is the command? Yeah, this is the command. Simple command to run it. Uh, it will just pick from my CLI. You just need to run this command, give access, and you get a JSON file output, and you just need to update here. Okay, so that's how it works. I know it's very simple, and let's go back and see our code. So this is all done. So if you see here, it's very simple. The build one, the build, and the push, and the build and the push command is what we did as well, right? We did build, and then we pushed it through the Visual Studio Code. That's what we did for the other containers. So the same thing which we are doing, 4 different services getting pushed under the same namespace, with the same create secret and other things which is out there, and you are just running this code. And let's see this. I'm just showing you this because you can just copy this, make edits the way you want for your app, and your app is out there. you have a Docker file for your app. Just build it. Use Docker registry. Put everything in the settings. Your Kubernetes service app is running now. So that's all I did. And by the way, so I keep changing only the Kubernetes details and just running this application, and it keeps running. So let's go and change something in, in the code. We'll see. I hope it's there here or somewhere. Right. Make some changes. Let's change it. So I'll just change the font width to 1000, do something there, right? Or no, let's not do that. Cancel changes. Leave. I have it in the statics, public, front end, code, the pages, right? Index, not to do app, where is code, app.js, this is title, page prop, and let's send the stats. Okay. Huh. Let me change this code to, okay, I didn't do this. I'm doing directly from the GitHub. So pardon me, just for the demo, delete test on the stats, I believe. Okay, commit changes. So I've done some code change, some random code change, delete test, and then this got updated just now. Okay, now I go to the actions. That is the GitHub actions, which is already set. If you remember, I'd set it up for the dispatcher. It's not on push, so I'm just dispatching it. So build and dispatch. So run the workflow, um, and it will just run the workflow. Okay, so this will take a minute or two to deploy the code. Because I've done only changes in one of the service, which is only the front end, that it takes some time to build that one. But rest of the things, I don't think so. It will take some time because it is already built. Um, okay, so let this happen. While this is happening, now we'll have to switch gears. We were just talking about containers, app building, and other things. Now you want to build applications with AI, which is with using cognitive services, right? So now if I go into Azure.com and understand a little bit of cognitive services, let's understand cognitive services, little bit of Azure Cognitive Services, what it is, and other things. So it's basically it's, if you want to give a human touch to your app, right? You want to use cognitive service. So you are not a data scientist to build a custom models and other things. You can do that. That is option there, and I'll show you a couple of things like Microsoft.com, or even the speech cognitive service which is out there. So you can also use dashboards. So basically, if I have to show you, um, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, so this is I just want to talk about different cognitive services we have, right? So one is speech, which we are going to see, speech to text, text to speech, speech translation, and other things. So I'll just open this up for you, so that we see what it is. And um, and other things. So then there is language synthesis. So basically, recognizing sentiments, language, different language, and understanding what the uh, what is it, and question answers and other things. Building a conversational language and various things, bot service and other things. Vision is about images, videos, and other things. Analyzing those content. You can either use custom vision, or you can use custom vision as well, and also you can use face API to recognize face and other things. And there is decision making. So all this gives you all of these services have an SDK. You can use the SDKs and build it with the SDK and deploy it as a programming model, and we will do that as well. So while it is getting built, it's still getting built and deploying the on communities. It takes some time though. Oh, it's done almost. I think so. It's done. Okay, it's done. So we just deployed a code to communities. So you have the code. You just need to do the build it, and then you just need to go and push all these things up. Set this up. So once you have set it up, right? Once you have the code ready, and once you have everything ready, you just need to go and keep running it. It keeps running to your community service. So you can also showcase this as one of your service. You're using scale service, building app to various places, showing it to as a demo and other things. So this is how you can use it, and we will see how it has built it, right? So we'll go here and go to home, and we will open the Kubernetes Kube show. This is my Kubernetes service, and you can see already there is bunch of things in Kubernetes which is available. We'll go to service and ingress, and in service and ingress, you can see we have front end, and the front end, the IP address is here. So front end is the one which is available. To do app, so we did change into to do app. We didn't change this. We did change stats. So if I go to stats, this is a microservice. You see here, delete test. This has come in. So this is the change we made. Delete test, right? So basically, this is since we changed in the stat, it's in the stat, but it is not on this place, right? So this is how you can build and deploy. Now I keep changing the code, keep adding new components, new features, new microservices into the namespace, or use it with different services, integrate with this. Your app is getting stronger and stronger from a microservice perspective, right? So this is how you can use it in different hackathons. If you're building for a 12 hours hackathon or 36 hours hackathon, I would go and straight away use container instance. I would go and straight away use the Azure App Service with container instance, or maybe the Azure Container Apps if you are using a couple of services and building it and using it, right? So this is how you can build it. So there are a couple of components we did. And now we are switching gears to the Azure cognitive services. So from a cognitive service, as I told you, bunch of things you can do. There's, as I told, speech, language, vision, and decision making. Decision making is basically analyzing data and anomaly detections and other things which you have. All these things which you can do. So from today's demo perspective, I'll show you one, but for rest of the things, it's all the same. Nothing changes. The rest of the things, it's all the same. Cognitive services. I have it in. Okay. Reading this speech. So uh, I'm using the learn module, which is this, which will I will update in my hackbook for sure. And this is the learn module which is used for this two different apps which I'm going to show you. One will be creating if you want to do it with me, you can also do it this with me. One is to create speech enabled app, which is a speaking clock, and the other one is a traveler app. Say for example, I go into different country or in different place, I want someone to translate what I'm speaking, then it's translates. Say I don't know Hindi, I go into some state in the north and just speak in English and it converts it into Hindi. So we'll do we will do the test of that. Hopefully you will be able to hear it. I don't know, you can hear it through the mic and other things. I didn't do the test, so let's see. Let's hope that you can see that you can hear it as well. So this is the first one. So basically, what it does is it gives you SDK, speech SDK, and I need to create, obviously, while I need to have the Azure Cognitive Service created in my Azure portal. So that is something which we will do it while we are doing it. But the speech service is it provides with API and also SDKs. You can consume it both ways, and this is what we're going to see now. So we have Azure Resources. It is asking you to provision Azure Resource. I'm in the unit 2. I'm just trying to show you how to do this with an ease, right? If I'm building an application which is a speaking clock in a hackathon, which is a different app as well, where I have the input is an audio and the output is a text, and probably an output is a text, and then I am also want to hear the output in the audio. There are two use cases, and I'm building an app for that. If, for example, if in this hackathon which I was talking about, where Bangalore International Airport is trying to build and traveler experience app, right? So there could be a situation where I want to speak to it and get information out of it, right? I can hear it in different voices and other things. So we'll see that as well. So I'll not go deep dive into the demo. I know there is a bunch of things I need to show here. So, you know, going into the way it is built, as I told you, it provides you API, it provides you SDK. With SDK, you're going to use it with the programming base, right? So I'm using .NET here, but you can use Python, different languages. So basically, if you see here, it's very simple. You're creating an object of speech configuration. You're creating a configuration. As I told you, there is a resource location and key. So when speech configuration is nothing but in Azure portal, when you go and deploy a resource, which is Azure Cognitive Service. Once you deploy that, you're taking this service and creating a speech configuration, and then there is audio configuration which you're doing. Audio configuration can be a file format. You want to input via file, or you can use your mic to input to the speech recognizer. So it recognizes the speech, how it is done. It is also an object which is consuming these two configurations, and it creates a method called recognize once sync, and this method pushes the results into the speech results, recognize results, and then it has some of the properties which you can use it to output it, right? So basically you can use different reasons. There is reason why it failed, why it is classed. There is a text, that means when your speech coming in, it is converting into text. How much duration, offset, and other things which you can add, and this is what you can do. Similarly, from text to speech, it's the same thing. You see, do provide speech configuration. There is audio configuration, but you create a method called speech synthesizer, and it uses it uses something called as speech text async method to run couple of things. So you can see it was also storing it in the result, and then it has some of the properties and objects which you can use it for rest. And again, audio format, as I told you, audio format, either it is in your format voice or other things, and you can also format the bit rate and sample rate and other things. And voice as well, you can edit the voice. You can see here, you can change the voice as well to Indian voice, to different voices. So it's been built over time. It's a custom voices. It's not someone speaking, but it is built through AI. So this is something, as I told you, it's built on neural network. It is already pre-built for you. So that is the main advantage of cognitive service. Now imagine this power with the containers, you can deploy it on edge. So when I say deploy it on edge, that means you can deploy it on IoTs, you can deploy it on various other services and run it on different things, right? So basically you have an app, you consume it, you containerize it, deploy it on Azure container instance. You can deploy it on different places, Kubernetes, and various things. So that is the use of this. You can obviously use markup language to control. Obviously, this is for controlling the emotions of it, right? So basically, if you want to you know uh, the voice which is coming out, the output which is coming out of text to speech, you want to make it excitement or joy, cheerful. You want to have a question mark. You want to have something pronounce and or wait and then speak. So there are a couple of things. So a couple of things which you can set it up, and this is what it means. um, so this is what I want to run through this exercise. The code is out there. If you want to play around, you can just pick up this learn module. There is a lab. You just click on the lab. There is a 1 hour lab which gets created for you, and you can just play around. You don't even need a account. It just creates. Oh, sorry, you need a free account. You just need to go and create one. Here is the free account to create. But if you also want to have it as a without lab, you can do it like the way I've done it, where I have my own setup. I have my own exercise instructions and other things. So there is a setup instruction for this, and there is exercise for this. It is all set. So it's just a simple setup. Since I'm using .NET, it is just installing .NET and Visual Studio extensions, which is required, Azure CLI, which I always have, then Git obviously you always have it. So, and this is how you can do it. So what we are doing is speech to text, text to speech. I have the code. I just need to create the cognitive service to get two things. One is key and the endpoint. So basically, how do I get it? So I go to my Azure portal, and as I told you, it's very simple. Go create a resource, go to AI and machine learning, go to just type in, instead of AI machine learning, just type Azure. Okay, let me. I already have it, right? So let's forget about that. Let's not waste time. Cognitive service. I'm using it in multiple accounts. Okay. So I do have a speech it as one. So I can just search here. If it's a type here, you can do it. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay. So cognitive service, just go and you know Azure Cognitive Service is what I need to search for, and then you get it. So you just use it. Cognitive. Why it is not showing me? Oh, okay, now it is showing me here. So here is cognitive service. So you just need to click on that. So, anyways, I misspelled it. So, anyways, that is one. I have created it. So when I create it, there is key and endpoint, which is resource management. So it's very simple to create this one, as I told you, right? So it's just go there, click, add the resources, use the default. You're already here, and there's a key, and you copy the key, and you have central US location. You copy the central US location, and just go here. Then I just copy this and go to my code. So I don't have the code, right? I have not shown you the code. So I just need to show you the code here. Just close this folder and open a new one. Documents. This is on my repos. I hope it's on my repo. Yeah, so I'm in the speech. Speaking, open an integrated terminal. And this is the app settings which they are talking about. This is the, my key, and this is the region where I'm. So I need to just do the settings here. So it's a settings to access my cognitive service, and this is the code which is there, the program .cs, which is the .NET code. This is already there. If you take the code from the learn module, and then you need to provide the, this is the nothing but this is like import command in .NET, if you're very familiar with Python. And then you do the configurations for app settings. So here is the key configurations you are setting it up. And then you're using SDK, right? This is, since we are using the SDKs, these are all coming through SDKs. There is a bunch of field which is available in the SDK. So if you have access to SDKs documentation, you can see all these things, what it provides, what it does, and all those things. All you're doing is configuring the speech configuration, and then you're configuring the configurations for this. And then your speech synthesizer. So basically you're telling, this is the voice I want, and this is what time is it you want to ask the person, and tell the time, right? So this is the code. And then you're also, what you're doing is audio configuration and speech configurations to the output of this. And then you're just setting it up. This is the code for the output of the speech recognizer. This is still a speech recognizer. You are recognizing the speech. And there is speech synthesizer, which is to convert to different language. So basically this is, I'm calling it in Indian language. This is basically an Indian language which you see here. And then I am using the expression and time to end this lab. This is a written in XML. So if you see here, as I told you, it's an XML which we can use. I'm not going very detailed into it, but this is how you can build your own app with a couple of things which is enabled, right? So all I need to do is .NET run. If I do that, it will ask me for what time is it.
The time is 2025.
I hope you.
Time to end this lab.
Okay, thank you. So basically, what it is doing is, it is taking the time as an input. It is, converting it into a, whatever I spoke, it is converting into a text, and analyzing the text and giving me an output. What is the time in a, output in the audio. So basically, I've used both the APIs and SDK via SDK. One is speech to text, text to speech, right? So this is how you can do it. If I run it again and say, um, what's my name? See, it did convert uh, my audio into the text, but there was no, there is no time or anything, because it analyzed what was the question, and it figured it out. It was not the one to answer, so it didn't answer, and it didn't even go into the uh, tell time function, right? So basically, this is how you can build an app. uh, the learn module which is out there, it has code, it has everything. So I'll just update this in my hackbook. So one stop place for you to go back and do all this stuff, from container apps to app service to Kubernetes to IoT to various things. I've selected a couple of things where you can just pick and run and see, test yourself and see what it does. Now we are doing it, on the speech, right? We are not done the translation. Even in the translation code, the way to do it is, you can see there is app settings, the same thing. I do the changes, I go into the program.cs, same set of things which I discussed a while in the, it is also, it is already available on the learn module. So I've done the, you know the config settings, and then we have done the translation settings, and you can see which of the target language I'm looking for, and which of the conversations I need to translate into. and then there is languages will be displayed. So this is the code to display which languages I have, and then it just goes and convert it into text, translate it into text, and then and also repeat that in different language altogether. So this is the code to do it. I'm just going to run this. Let it run. It is just asking me which language I want to, convert my audio into. So I'm just saying from English to translate it to Hindi. So I'm just speaking Hindi. Uh, yeah, I'm just speaking Hindi. Why did it escape? I don't know. Let me get changes. What's my name?
मेरा नाम क्या है?
So you saw that. Basically, it did convert my English input or input, that is what's my name, and it converted into mera naam kya hai, and then it also the output was also in an audio for that, in that too in Hindi. So this is how you can build a travelers app. So um, it's pretty easy to build it if you see the steps. If you see the architecture to use this SDK in the learn module, it's all out there, right? So this is pretty much I had for today. I'm hoping that I'm right on time, but I'll give 10 more minutes for questions and other things which we have. So let me go back to my slide. So any questions? Okay, just wait a minute. Let me stop sharing. And any questions to answer, let me know. Uh, where is the questions? Is bunch of things.
Yes, I guess Gaurav Kumar has a question. We have flashed it on the screen.
Yes, it's basically kind of application you're building, right? So basically, if you have want to build an application where you have users, consumers, you have revenue, you definitely have to go back and build it and use it. If you are building it for fun, if you want to try it out, uh, try it out in a minimal data sets and minimal things. Not go beyond and try something and make yourself into pay a lot of money to the service you're going to use. uh, this is Gaurav's question. I was just looking at it. Can you just
Yeah,
repeat that
sure, sure.
question here? um, I don't know which service you're not the other one. The traffic will be low as it's in the dev stage. So you're talking about the container app service. So I just mentioned it as a dev stage. Yes, traffic will be low. When traffic is high, you can definitely split traffic. You can scale through traffic in Azure Container Apps. If you're talking about Azure Container Apps, you can split the traffic. You can also scale it with KEDA, which means which is basically an event, right? So, for example, if a lot of messages are getting filled in the queue, it basically scales the queue service, or it scales the service which is required, specifically. So that's how you can use container apps as well. Okay, so if you're meaning that way. Uh, what
Uh,
is more preferable, deploying via code, via Docker image? Any disadvantage over another one? See, in the hackathon perspective, if you're asking, I would say you can deploy it in both the ways. But it is, for me, it's always good to deploy it via Docker image, because you don't have to face issues with the packaging. when you have to do the demo, you don't have to face issues with the packaging. Say for example, some of the hackathons, you will say, they'll say, we will have a demo tomorrow, and you're packaging in the night, and you see there is issues with the packaging because your friend or your team members are using different things, and then the code which you guys are merging, and it will get messy, right? So better to you start with proper way, which is to have a which is to have a container strategy, and start with Docker, have it built and packaged it at first. So all these things, whichever I showed you, I did one round of build and deploy, right? So there is a build, there's a code, there is packaging, there is deploy, which is happening. And once that is set, right, if you see, I can keep changing the code. The code is there in the final version always. The change of the code, you're changing the code, is there in my final version. In between you can use GitHub. That's what I showed you through GitHub Actions. In between you can use GitHub between your friends when you're building hackathons. So the code is coming through GitHub, and it is getting deployed into, you want to deploy it in the app service, you want to deploy it into Kubernetes service, you want to deploy wherever you want. So it is already there. And when you're doing demo, you don't need to be worried, because the code is going through GitHub. You can go back, come back, different versions can be brought in. You can go back from the version which is already there. So these things which can definitely do it.
I
uh,
guess we have another question. Yeah.
Yeah, do we have GitHub integrations with Azure for Yes, lot of things. So I'm going to update a lot of things in the, in the hack book. As I told you, it's going to continuous updations, so that you don't need to go back and search somewhere else and see what it to be done. Just go into that hack book, and you will find all these things available for you. And by the way, if you go to um, my GitHub, and if you go to I have done a series on GitHub Actions for Azure. If you go to that series, you will find, how you can use GitHub Actions for app service. You will find it for serverless. You will find it for Kubernetes. You will find it for database. So all these things been done there. So there is a GitHub Action series. If you just go there, you will find the whole, with video, with code, with the resources, links to the resources as well. So you can just go there and access it and take a look at it. Any other questions we have? But sorry, I'll just update that. I'll sit through night and I will update it for sure. I wanted to make sure that I
Yeah.
have it tomorrow. I just somehow missed, and I was just thinking it is tomorrow. Thanks for reminding. By the way, I could update
No
few
issues.
things though, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it would be great. Like, I'm sure your Azure Hackbook will be a great resource for anyone who wants to build solutions on Azure. So yeah, it's really a great resource. And I guess we don't have any other questions coming up. So like we can end up the session. Uh, if anyone has another question, you can type in the chat box, or else we'll end.
I mean, you can also reach out to me on either on LinkedIn or Twitter if you're facing some issues. If you're building for specifically for this hackathon as well, if you have any issues, just reach out to me. I'll try and help you out there.
I guess there are no other questions coming up. So thank you, sir, for such a great informative session and for demonstrating everything and making it easier for our viewers to understand about Azure services. Thank you once again, sir,
Thank you
for
for
this session.
the for this opportunity, because This inspired me to write something for everyone. Thank you very much for inviting.
Yeah. Okay. And also to all our viewers, if you haven't registered for .slash 5.0, make sure you register. You can check out our Discord server. If you have any other queries, you can type your questions in the Discord server as well regarding our hackathon. And also an important update, the problem statements for our hackathon have been released on 26th December, and all the participants are requested to go through the problem statements and to choose one of them and submit your ideas before 4th of Jan 2022. So make sure do check out the problem statements and submit your ideas, and in order to be a part of hack.slash 5.0. So with this, we would like to conclude today's session. Thank you all for joining.